So, what's something that can make or break a video? Transition. It seems pretty boring, innit? But here's the thing. It's not. No, we're not talking about those boring ones like in Star Wars. Yeah. No. We're talking about the buttery smooth one. You know, the one that really melts in your mouth. Or eyes, I guess. So you might have seen a couple of those on YouTube or TikTok, so let's take a look at how they trick your brain into feeling smooth, because they're not. Just to prep this a bit, I'm really not a fan of TikTok. Like, not at all. But I've been seeing a lot of interesting ones, so you know what? We're gonna take a look at some and even try to imitate some of the effects. You know, to see if I can put my money where my mouth is. And we're all gonna see them by the end of this video, so stay tuned to see all this bullshit. But first, I have some explaining to do. Alright, you see, for a smooth transition to work, it has to trick the viewer's brain, because whatever you're gonna do, it's gonna be two different cuts. But here we're kind of acting like magicians, you know, trying to distract your attention in a specific place for you not to notice the trick. Alright, so let's get to the first trick, which is movement. It's actually pretty simple. Just whip the camera at the end of the scene and just whip it again in the same direction in the next. You see, when you whip the camera, you get something called motion blur. And as you can tell, it's pretty hard to see whatever the fuck is happening. So all you gotta do is plug that little clip in there, and that will be a little secret. Since your brain gets the info of movement, it gets really hard for it to notice when you change to something that could be totally different. Add the motion blur on top of that, and it gets even harder for it to notice anything. Oh, and yes, any movement works. And by that, I mean any movement works. Because again, your brain just fills in the blank. Alright, so next transition is blocking or fade to black. You see, this one is used a lot in movies because it's a pretty simple but efficient way to make a transition. Plus, it's also a really good way to keep the pace going. So I just take anything that blocks the whole frame in the first shot and remove it in the second clip as the object is wiping through the frame. The faster it is, the seamless it will be. Now there's an easier version, which the whole frame becomes black for a second, but it's not as impressive for obvious reason. There's a fucking black frame. Ah, gee, I wonder where they put a cut. This wipe effect is definitely one of my favorite, because yet again, you can get really creative with it. Like I did in my Gamer Suit video, actually. I got the first clip, I got the second one, and here we go. Just make the mask, and you got a pretty cool effect. Technically, this is more of a VFX than a transition, but the principle still applies, okay? Bitch. And finally, there's the match cut. With the limitation of the TikTok app, this one is the most used. Just cut the video, keep the same subject, background, or even action, and start recording again. That's actually the one they use on TikTok to push their own heads. Seems pretty easy enough, right? But the trick with that one is in the movement. Like, they don't cut at the end of the action. Instead, they keep going just a little bit, so when it stops moving, the transition is already done. It's definitely something you gotta practice a bit to master. But alright, with all of this out of the way, let's check out some TikTok and try to create the same effect. Alright, so let's see what we have here. That's a pretty cool match cut. Yeah, that's another match cut. Match cut. That's a pretty cool match cut. That's a new thing. It's match cut. Oh, is that a match cut? Oh yeah, it is a match cut. Obviously, it is a match cut. It's all match cuts. It's all just match cut. I know it is. It's all just match cut. Damn, that match cut. Alright, so clearly there's a lot of match cuts. So instead, what I'm gonna do is just show you a TikTok that I think is really interesting and show you how the effects are done and copy it.
How I'm born and I'm smart. How I'm humble and I'm honest. How the punches even seeing these thoughts and wishing for the positive more common. No drama, thank God I made it to tomorrow. Time and coffee, watch me blow. Watch the potion as it's poured up. With the fame when I glow up. Watch me show up, watch me notice. Yeah, I'm 30, yeah, I'm feeling myself when they traded. Yeah, I'm cool from cut the laces.
That's pretty cool, eh? So let's wind back a bit. So the first effect that I found really cool is the one where she pushes her hands. It looks like her hand becomes so long. What she does is that she pushes her hand, but as she's pushing her hand, she stopped the video there and instead changed to her wide angle lens. If you don't know, when you use a wide angle, everything that is close and on the edge really gets distorted, which gives this really long arm effect. And if you watch it in slow motion, you can see why I'm saying that it's not really smooth. But again, in motion, no one's gonna notice anything. Next is the mirror shot, which still uses the same principle. But this time the movement stays in the same direction, because this time, after the cut, you just flip the image. And it seems like you're going through a mirror. It sounded more complicated, but it's really just that. And if you don't believe me, you just look at the background and you know that's what happened. Then it's the Stranger Things effect. Just drop your phone, and when you start recording the other shot, just tilt your phone down. And that's pretty much it. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to say that these transitions are bad. I'm just trying to prove a point and also explain how it's actually done. And it's clearly not meant to be viewed at 25% speed. It's just like Magician. If you start watching them in slow motion, the trick will reveal itself and it gets boring. So don't do that like I just did. So just give it a try. Transitions are pretty fun to do and the feeling of landing one is really nice. Or don't. I don't know, I'm not your mom. But thanks a lot for watching, it means a lot. Please consider subscribing for more entertaining video on stuff you didn't know was interesting. So I'll see you guys again in a week, and I guess I gotta disappear with a transition now, don't I? Come on, that was pretty cool.